Hello, everybody. weebrabbit here, and welcome back to the Otaku Overload Podcast, episode 54. This, of course, is going to be our Game Awards 2023 episode. We had mentioned it last week that we're going to cover the Game Awards, all the winners, well, not all the winners, but most of the big winners, a lot of the big announcements, that sort of thing. And I'm excited. I think there's a lot to talk about. I know that my co-host is excited to talk about it. So yeah, Jonathan, say hello to everybody.
Yo, what's up, guys? Yes, I'm very excited. I watched the entirety of the whole Game Awards, so you can tell I'm very hyped to talk about it today. And yeah, let's get into it, bro.
Yeah, actually, before that, though, we do have a couple of news stories I want to cover really quick. And actually, before that, just want to throw out there that, yeah, Legend Jonathan actually streamed the whole thing.
Yeah, I did.
You could go check that out over on his channel, see his reactions live and him talking online to his viewers, especially his friend, 𝐦𝐨𝐬 or whatever that was watching him. So you can go check that out over on his channel. And yeah, we will dive into that in a moment. But like I said, before that, though, I do want to talk about two quick little news stories that are follow-ups to last week. The first one is really funny because we had just talked about it. We had said about, oh, there's going to be like this trailer. There's like the date it's supposed to come out. And lo and behold, the day the podcast went out, maybe like the next day, I don't remember, but it was like really close to when the podcast went out. Instead of the date that they had planned to release the GTA 6 trailer, it got leaked. So they just said, screw it, and released it like a day early, which I thought was kind of funny, honestly.
That is pretty funny.
Yeah, so as the title of the article states, Grand Theft Auto 6 launches in 2025 for PS5 and Xbox Series. First trailer. So yes, we got the first trailer. It leaked a day early. And yeah, it was honestly pretty interesting. It seems that the leak / like rumor that had been flowing around was true, that we are returning to a Vice City type area having to do with like the beaches, and it's kind of like an equivalent of like Florida or something. So like I said, we're returning to a setting like that. And yeah, that also kind of said online that it was believed it was going to be like a Bonnie and Clyde type story. We're going to have, a male and female protagonist that seems like you'll be able to play as both, maybe like switch around or whatever. And it's going to have to do with them like robbing, places and, trying, I guess, make their fortune that way. And that's definitely part of what they show in the trailer, which is like pretty interesting. And yeah, the visuals look really good. The little bit of like setup looks pretty interesting, like I said, about like the two protagonists, and shows them holding up like a store of some sort. They have like the masks obviously to like steal all the money or whatever. And besides that, it's just like very atmospheric. And yeah, it definitely shows a lot of stuff that looks like Florida. If it's supposed to be a Florida equivalent, it really does look like Florida. Like the way, the beaches, the big buildings, the people partying all over the place, the alligator. There's a part where it shows like an alligator and like everything, a lot of like car stuff too, like car culture. I mean, you always hear about how crazy Florida is, right? And you hear about you always hear about how crazy Florida is. You hear about the people partying for like spring break, like that sort of thing, and everything they show really seems to be emphasizing that. So I thought it looked pretty good, and I think it's going to be like really interesting the way they decide to go to this area and portray all of the culture, of Florida. So I think it looks cool. I think it looks good. I think it looks interesting. It is a shame that it's 2025. You would think that, okay, we finally got the trailer, it's going to be sometime next year. And it's like, nope, it's going to be like 2 years from now. So it's like, oof, still got to wait. But at least we got the trailer finally. And even though it's more of like an atmospheric trailer, I would say, than like really a gameplay and stuff, I still thought it was pretty hype. I still think it's, pretty cool.
Oh my, yeah, man. I agree. Like, it looks so beautiful too. Like,
It looks really good. Really good.
Yeah, I thought for like a second when they show like the people and like the sun's going down, but like it's still like the twilight area, like zone, like like the sun. I literally thought I was watching like a movie somehow, and I'm like, what is this? I'm like, this graphics looks so crazy,
and it's crazy too. Sorry to cut you off. I was gonna say it looks good already for like, this is supposed to be what's going to be on PS5 and Xbox Series, right? And I
Hmm.
mean, games at this level already look pretty good because the systems, they have, like some ray trace and stuff like that. A lot of
Hmm.
people are disappointed it didn't get announced for PC. So I think it's gonna take a while before it hits, the PC scene. But once it hits PCs, that's probably gonna be like a whole other level because on
It
PC you
is.
can add all like those mods and you can add all of the, extra bumps and in quality to like the frame rate and the resolution and stuff. It's probably gonna look like really crazy once it hits the PCs.
It is. Yeah. It definitely is.
So yeah, I just looks really cool. And it's kind of cool to finally it's finally getting closer. Like it's finally out there, man. Like a lot of people thought it was never gonna happen. It's pretty
Me
interesting.
neither. Me neither. I never thought GTA 6 was gonna come like this quick, honestly. Like I was like, it's gonna take another 10 years.
I know it's crazy because man, it's been so long between this and five, like we said, it was on PS3, PS4, PS5. It's crazy that it took this long, but
Hmm.
I get it though because these games they're so like large scale and there's so much details and all these things you can do and stuff. So this is probably gonna be like a whole other level, is what I'm guessing.
Hmm.
Yeah, before moving on, I was gonna say I think it's really funny because earlier we were just mentioning like it looks just like Florida. Everything you see people doing, it's stuff that people in Florida really do, like on like spring break or when they're partying or like the whole thing with like the car culture, people like racing in the streets and like stuff like that shows. And
Hmm.
then when it shows, kind of like people on the streets hanging out and like the whole alligators and like weird people and everything, like the whole Florida man thing. I
Hmm.
do not understand people who see the trailer and they're already complaining. It is so ridiculous. This is literally what Florida looks like.
It
They're
literally is what
literally
Florida's like.
portraying how people act in this, especially like in Miami and stuff, like beach areas. And some people were like, I don't know what I don't even want to get into it, but people were like complaining about it. Some people were saying that they showed too many things that were inappropriate because of like ladies in bikinis and like twerking. Like that's
But
literally what people do
GTA
in
5 has that.
and that's literally like this is a game where you run around
Yeah.
and you can like hire like prostitutes and stuff. Like and there's strip
That's what I'm
clubs. Like
saying.
how
Yeah.
does this go too far? Well, that's literally what people do like on spring break in Florida. Like I don't want to get into it, but I just thought it was really funny. There's already people complaining, and that just goes to show that even though a lot of people are excited, there's always going to be people that you can't please, man. People are always going to find something to complain about.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. But that aside, though, those
Mm.
people can suck a toe. um, yeah, I think it looks cool. I think it's still a far ways off, 2025, but hey, hopefully the game's good. Hopefully, we can like speed up and get there.
Yeah.
Nice. Then the other news story I want to talk about really quick. I don't know who's this for. Maybe I'm just like talking to Ether. Me, these are just for me. But last week we had just talked about the whole it was last week or the week before that. We were talking about the Rascal Does Not Dream of franchise and
Hmm.
how there was going to be that movie that released in Japan, and those like the first 3 minutes that were streamed, blah blah blah. And you might remember that I said, "Oh, they've made like two movies. No, this is actually the third movie at this point. After the season, the anime season, they
Yeah.
released three movies. This is actually the third movie they released."
Oh, wow.
And I was, yeah, because first one was the Dreams of a Dreaming Girl. That one came out a while ago. And then this year, slash like last year, depending on like what, the whole Japan, rest of the world
England.
thing, there
Yeah.
was the whole something about like a sister going out, venturing out. And then this one is what the fuck is this one called? Dreams
That's not true.
of a knapsack
Hmm.
kid. So this is the third movie. So one anime season and three movies. And I had said that's really cool, but I hope they continue. I hope we get like another anime season. I hope it's supposed to be there's like an arc where like the characters are in college now. They graduate high school. I hope it continues. Blah 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 blah. Long story short, we just got a news story that says Rascal Does Not Dream franchise gets anime adapting university student arc. So yes, I had said that I hope there was more, and it got basically confirmed. It hasn't been confirmed yet if it's going to be anime film again, if it's going to be an OVA, if it's going to be another anime season, etc. But it says, in the story, if you read it, that the website for the franchise, it got updated, and it said that, yeah, there's going to be like, more of this series, and that they're going to adapt that arc. And apparently, like at the end of the movie, they show like a little promotional video after the ending credits. So that's pretty cool.
That is pretty lit.
Yeah, and then apparently the character designer, they also like drew like a little thing to celebrate the announcement or whatever, and it shows one of the main characters, Mai, that she's like in a classroom looking setting. She's kind of just like smiling and staring at the camera. So yeah, basically it's confirmed. It just hasn't been said exactly how they're going to adapt it. Like I said, anime film, OVA, another anime TV series season. But the fact that we're getting more is really cool, and I'm really glad. And it would be really cool if they just adapt the whole thing. Like however far this goes, which I've heard it should, I think, be close to ending. I think the light novel, I think like there's just going to be like 1 or 2 more parts, I think is what I'd heard, and it's supposed to adapt the university arc, which is like a couple of them, and then I think after that there should be like maybe like 3 other ones or something. I don't know. I'm not too sure the specifics. The point is, I hope they adapt everything of the light novel series. I think that'd be really cool. But at least for now, we know we're getting more. So it looks like the series is continuing. Things are looking up. So very, very cool.
That's super awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Like I said, I don't know who the story's for. Maybe it's just me. But if you like the series, rejoice. And if you don't have any familiarity with the series, once again, I recommend it. Go check it out, because they keep going with this, So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Alrighty, with that news out of the way, I just wanted to cover those little news stories really quick. Now for the main course, which is the Game Awards 2023. And the way I'm going to break this down, because we could cover the whole show, or we could do alternate between announcements and winners, blah blah blah. The way I've decided to do it is that first we're going to cover some of the winners. I'm not going to go over every category, but I'll go over some of the more important ones. We'll kind of list what the category is, who was nominated, who won, and then after that, I think we'll do the announcements. And then after that, we'll probably just kind of close with our overall thoughts, and I think that'll be it. But I think that would be basically enough coverage of the event. What do you think?
I totally agree. We should do that.
All right, cool. So with that being said, we're going to start with some of the winners then. So link in the description below will have the list. It'll have an article that lists all of the winners, so you can look over everything in case there's something that we didn't mention, that might be interesting to you. But like I said, I'm not going to cover all of them. I'm just going to kind of skip around. The first one that I think was kind of like important, I would call kind of a big one, is that they had an award for best adaptation, which means a game that got adapted into a TV series, a movie, that sort of thing. And the nominees were Castlevania Nocturne, Gran Turismo, The Last of Us, the Super Mario Brothers movie, and Twisted Metal. And, a little drum roll, the winner was The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Which I say, it's pretty fair. I think some of these were, they're all right, I guess. And yeah, I think Last of Us did a pretty good job of bringing the series to TV. I think it did a pretty good job, honestly. So sure, I think that's fair that it won. I guess I'm not like against it. So pretty cool,
Yeah.
Then after that, the most anticipated game, which means like which game do people really want? Like which one are they looking forward to the most? It was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hades 2, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8. And the winner was, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
I had a feeling.
which out of this list, that's probably the one I'm looking forward to the most as well.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
that's still a pretty good list of games, you know.
Mm-hmm.
One's like a follow-up to Hades 2 is like a follow-up to like a really beloved, title, like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, same thing. It's a really, continuation of a series people love. Star Wars Outlaws looks like a very interesting new game. And then Tekken 8 is another entry in a fighting game series that people like. So I think it's a pretty good list,
Yeah.
After that, jumping over to best sim/strategy game, which means, stuff that's either real time or turn-based simulation or, strategy. Again, it kind of says it in the name, right? The nominees were Advanced Wars 1 plus Reboot Camp, which that game, man, remember when it was taking forever to come out because it got delayed because of yeah. Anyway, that's one of them. Then Cities Skylines 2, Company of Heroes 3, Fire Emblem Engage, and Pikmin 4. And the winner was Pikmin 4.
I knew it. I was so happy.
Which I think I remember you talked about that you voted for it. You were really hoping it would win or whatever. So you were like really happy.
On stream, I literally screamed yes.
Oh wow, nice. You're pretty excited. That's good that it got a win award. That's pretty nice. Good for Pikmin 4. It's really crazy how the Pikmin series went from not being very, selling well, not that recognized, being kind of more niche, to it did pretty well with all like the re-releases on Switch, and
it got a
Pikmin
reward.
4, Pikmin 4 sold pretty well and it got an award and stuff, got some attention. So pretty cool. We'll have to see what happens with the franchise going forward,
Mm-hmm.
Best family game, which of course means a game that's appropriate for like, all ages, that sort of thing. Disney Illusion Island, Party Animals, Pikmin 4, Sonic Superstars, or Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And the winner was, no surprise, Mario Bros. Wonder, of course. I feel like Nintendo almost always wins like the family game category, right? Like almost every time.
Yeah.
So no surprise. The other games were fine too, but of course Mario Bros. Wonder won. It's like not surprising, honestly.
No, man. Pikmin 4 had to win. I'm just kidding.
Right. No, Disney Illusion Island should have won.
Yeah, I should have.
Right. Then best fighting game should be pretty self-explanatory what this category is for. God of Rock, Mortal Kombat 1, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, Pocket Bravery, or Street Fighter 6. And the winner was, shouldn't be any surprise, Street Fighter 6.
Mm-hmm.
Which, it makes sense. I feel like, the game is just... I feel like these other ones can't even like compare to Street Fighter 6. I feel like it's done so well just in terms of like the attention it's been getting and people loving the characters, the gameplay, everything, the story mode. It feels like 5 did well, but it feels like with Street Fighter 6, it feels like they really wanted to turn things around because Street Fighter 5 was just kind of like weird, right? With like the characters,
it was, yeah.
And, some of like the story and I don't know, just like a lot of really weird decisions. So it feels like Street Fighter 6 really want to turn it around. And so it sounds like they really, redeemed themselves and people have just been really going crazy for the game. So, good job,
Mm-hmm.
Then best RPG. Obviously, the way they describe it here is that it has to be games that have customization and progression, as well as like multiplayer experiences. That's the way they describe it, which I guess it's a fair way to describe an RPG. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
So the nominees were Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Lies of P, Sea of Stars, and Starfield. And the winner was Baldur's Gate 3, which, again, another game that people have just been going crazy for, since it came out. So not surprising,
Mm-hmm.
Best action adventure game. Kind of weird, right? I mean, sometimes the way they kind of like break down categories is where it gets weird, right? Because there's best action adventure, but then later we're going to describe there's also best action.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird that they separate them. Yeah,
it gets a bit weird in that sense, right? Weird.
Mm-hmm.
So best action adventure game. The way they describe it is combat with traversal and puzzle solving, which sure, I guess. So the nominees are Alan Wake 2, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And the winner was The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So yeah, good job,
Same.
Zelda.
I was
Very
happy
cool.
about that. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Yeah. Very nice. Let's see. I'm just kind of just seeing what all the stuff I can do. Hold on. I'm just trying to see. Just looking. Hold on. All right. So after that, as I mentioned earlier, best action game. So this is kind of funny because it's like, didn't we just say action adventure? So action again, kind of weird, right? But the difference is while the other one was supposed to be about combat with traversal and puzzle, this one is just mostly combat, which like, sure, I guess, right? So the nominees are Armored Core 6, Dead Island 2, Ghost Runner 2, Hi-Fi Rush, and Remnant 2. And the winner was Armored Core 6. So pretty cool, I guess. Good for them. Very nice. After that, best debut indie game. So that just means, a game that's new to the scene that has, a new independent studio. So there was Cocoon, Dredge, Pizza Tower, Venba, and Viewfinder. I will admit, the only one I was familiar with was Pizza Tower. I wasn't really familiar with the other ones. I was going to look them up. I think I mentioned that before, and I never did. My bad. Regardless, the winner was Cocoon, which good for it. I, once again, kind of need to check out these debut indie titles. The only one I really know about is Pizza Tower.
Same. I only know about Pizza Tower, yeah.
But, everyone that got nominated, I mean, they must have done something to catch everyone's attention. And Cocoon must have done something special that they got voted. So pretty cool, So, yeah, good for the developers of Cocoon, And then best indie game, which I guess the difference is that it could be a debut indie game, or it could be an indie game that's from a studio that's already like existed, like previous titles. So the nominees were Cocoon, which, was in the previous category, Dave the Diver, Dredge, which again was in the previous category, Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder, which was also in the previous one. So that's kind of cool that there was some of that overlap, you know what I mean? And the winner of best indie game was Sea of Stars, which pretty cool. I mean, I played the demo for that. I really do want to get back in there and play the full game, but I thought it was pretty impressive. Sea of Stars. I thought it was a pretty cool title. I liked what they were doing, so it's pretty nice to see it win. So that's pretty cool. Nice job. Then after that, best ongoing game. So it means a game that's, already been out for a while and it keeps getting updates, that sort of thing. The nominees were Apex Legends, Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact. And the winner was Cyberpunk 2077, which I will admit is really surprising.
I was surprised too.
Yeah, apparently Cyberpunk 2077 has really turned things around. You know how it had like a disastrous launch? Apparently it's done a pretty good job with like updates and patches and fixes and stuff. So it's pretty interesting to see that turnaround, you know what I mean? So that's pretty cool. Good for them, I guess, you know what I mean? Not bad. Then best performance, that means, best voice acting or motion capture, etc. So Ben Starr, Final Fantasy 16, Cameron Monaghan, I'm not sure. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Idris Elba, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, Melanie Liburd, Alan Wake 2, Neil Newborn, Baldur's Gate 3, and Yuri Lowenthal, Marvel Spider-Man 2. And the winner was Neil Newborn, Baldur's Gate 3. So personally, I was going for Yuri Lowenthal for, Spider-Man 2. Same. But it is what it is, But hey, good for the Baldur's Gate 3 guy. That's pretty cool, It's always, I think everyone did a pretty good job. So, anyone deserved it. But personally, I was going for Yuri. But hey, good job for Neil.
I also voted for Yuri, yeah,
Lowenthal.
Yuri Lowenthal,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's fine. All of them were like kind of
Hmm.
deserving, so.
Yeah,
Best audio design means, best in-game
music.
audio, sound design, music, that sort of thing. Actually, no, it's not best music. I'm sorry. That's actually the next category.
Oh
Best
wow.
audio design is just in-game audio and sound, which is kind of interesting, right? It's like, how does that differ from score? It just is somehow. It's just, I don't know, I
It's a
guess
separate
other,
thing somehow.
yeah, but it was Alan Wake 2, Dead Space Remake, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel Spider-Man 2, and Resident Evil 4 Remake. And the winner was Hi-Fi Rush, which, hey, good job, Hi-Fi Rush. You won something. That's
That
nice,
was pretty cool. I was happy for that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think the game was really, really, it was a really fun game. I think it definitely deserved, at the very least, to win in terms of some sort of music thing, right? Because of how good the music was and stuff. So pretty
Hmm.
cool, pretty cool. And then the next one, this one is best score slash music, which means, music, soundtrack, that sort of thing, right? So
Yeah.
Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And the winner was Final Fantasy 16,
Hmm.
which I'm a
I
bit surprised about. I feel I would have liked if Hi-Fi Rush had
is
won
a
here instead, you know?
yeah.
But they gave it to Final Fantasy 16, which again, I mean, I guess everyone who's here did a good job, but I kind of wish Hi-Fi Rush had won for best, music instead of, sound design, audio design. But it is what it is, but, whatever. All right. Then best game direction, which means, best creative vision, best innovation, blah, blah, blah. Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, or The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And the winner was Alan Wake 2, which, Alan Wake 2, it won a few things. So, it kind
Oh,
of
it
makes
won a few
sense.
things, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mention some of them. I feel like, but yeah, it's
Hmm.
won a few things. So, I mean, it makes sense that if it won game direction, it makes sense since it won other things. So it kind of ties together, I mean, that, it was a very well put together game. And it was definitely, a lot of people feel like it was worth the wait. So pretty cool, good for Alan Wake 2. And finally, the big one, Game of the Year, which means which was the one that people felt delivered the best experience, right? Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, or The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And the winners were, and the winner was Baldur's Gate 3.
3. Hmm.
So, I feel like Alan Wake 2 and Baldur's Gate 3 were probably like the biggest winners in this
Game
event.
of year. Hmm.
So pretty cool, pretty cool. But there were some other winners as well. We got to see Legend of Zelda take something. We got to see Mario Bros.
Pikmin
Wonder
4.
take something. We got to see Pikmin 4 take something. We got to see, even Hi-Fi Rush win something. So, the ones I feel the most bad for, like Resident Evil 4 remake, I don't think won anything.
Spider-Man didn't
Spider-Man
win.
definitely didn't win anything, which is kind of sad. So that's kind of lame, but oh well, it is what it is. Not everybody always wins.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm not too bothered by the winners. Sometimes there's stuff where you're like, what? How did that person win? Or how did that game, get, win in that category? Like sometimes there's some weird ones. At least out of the ones I mentioned, I feel like they're deserved. I feel like,
Hmm.
anybody in that category, it would have been like fine, I guess. And the ones that won, I think are fine. The other one I
Yeah,
kind of
same.
like, the only thing when I said I kind of had a problem, not a problem, but I was kind of like about was maybe best score slash music. I think Hi-Fi Rush should have won because of how the whole game centers around music, right?
Yeah.
But at least it did win best audio design. So at least they got something having to do with, it sounds. So I'm not like that bothered by it. But that's the only one where I would kind of say, I think Hi-Fi Rush should have won like best music. But besides that, though, everything else, I think like that's pretty cool, So there you go. Those are the winners. Like I said, I didn't go over all of them. Link is in the description below. And before we move over to the announcements, what about you? Is there any that you would have maybe changed, or are you cool with all the winners? What do you think?
Let's see. No, not really. I feel like a lot of like all of them I was fine with.
Hmm.
Even Game of the Year I was fine with, but I was leaning more on the Tears of the Kingdom boat, and so even though I was happy because Baldur's Gate 3 was like the number two for me, I don't know, man. I really did want Zelda to win. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, it would have been cool to see Zelda win more, but at least it won for its
Yeah,
category, so that's not bad, you know.
yeah. So I was gonna say that was pretty good. It's just yeah, I feel like that's like the only category, honestly, because everything else I was kind of like, oh, that's that I can see, I guess, you know.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, and then
yeah,
Pikmin 4 won, so I know you're excited for that. So that's
that
pretty
made
cool
me
as well.
happy. That made me really happy. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, I think most of these are fine. There's just like maybe like one or two I was kind of like about, but I think it was pretty well deserved, you know. So pretty cool stuff. And again, once again, while it's cool to see people win, it's obviously nice to congratulate them and that sort of thing. Remember, it's not the end all be all. I know some people get kind of heated, like I wanted this game to win or that game to win, or like I can't believe that Marvel Spider-Man 2 didn't win anything. Remember, it's just kind of subjective. It's not like saying this is the end all be all where like, oh, because Spider-Man didn't win anything, that means it's like a terrible game. It's just supposed to be
It's
for
like
fun. It's
no.
just based on a few people's like opinions, and it's just about, kind of celebrating what we're able to. Obviously, if we're to like celebrate every game that deserves it, this would be like really long, and there would be like multiple winners for each award and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So someone
Hmm.
not winning isn't like that big of a deal. It's just supposed to be like a kind of event for fun. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah. All right, jumping over to the announcements. I thought there was quite a few announcements. I will admit from the very top that there wasn't anything that was super mind blowing to me. As I was telling Legend of Jonathan, I think that probably the best time of announcements was probably back during, a few years back when Smash Ultimate was doing its reveals of who's going to get added as like to the fighter pass. I feel like that was when we had some of those crazy like, oh man, we can get an announcement at any time, and because the announcements were so out there with third parties, it was like really exciting. I feel like around that time was when we had like the most kind of fun with the announcements, right? Like the most like really big mind blowing surprises. But that being
Hmm.
said, though, I still thought there was some cool announcements, which I'll cover some of them. So I'm gonna try to kind of go in order. Luckily, I think this article that will be in the description below, I think it kind of does go in order of like from start of the show to the end. So the first announcement that I thought was pretty cool is that Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons is getting a remake.
Hmm.
And this is a game that if you guys have played A Way Out or It Takes Two, you might remember that one of the Game Awards show, it was the guy who went up there and he said, fuck the Oscars. His name's like Joseph something. This guy, the first game that he directed was a game called Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. However, I think when he directed it, it was part of like another studio. It wasn't part of this new studio that made, A Way Out or It Takes Two. And I still think it's a really good game, though. I think he's always had a really good creative vision for making games that take, you know, like two people, right? It's supposed to be games that focus on like two characters, like doing things like together, right?
Like working
And
together, yeah.
yeah, and this one, even though you do play with one controller, that's where it is a little bit different, but still about like the data of two characters. And yeah,
Hmm.
basically this game came out back in 2013. Like I said, it was part of a different, studio and everything. But yeah, it's gonna get a remake. And yeah, for anyone who's wondering, as it says here, the game, which launched in August 2013, saw players control two brothers at the same time with one controller as they travel to save their father from illness with water from a life-giving tree. So trust me, it's a very simple story. It's very, fairy tale-esque about these two brothers. Their dad's sick, so they go on a journey to get some water to, help their sick father. But despite that, it's just very creative. It's very well done. And the story is actually pretty good. For being like a very simplistic story, like where it goes is very well done. It actually has some emotional weight to it. And since it was kind of stuck on, other consoles, like older ones, I'm really glad it's getting a remake on modern consoles, because I definitely think this game deserves more attention. And it's really cool to see that this guy, Yosef, that he is, returning to kind of where he started. You know what I mean? So I think that's really cool. And when I saw this announcement, I was like, oh, that's great. I really want to play this when it comes out, whenever it comes out. So I thought that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first announcement that I thought was like, wow, I like it. I was excited for that. Then after that, this is kind of a small one, but I thought it was pretty interesting. So the same guy that made, I think it's the other game called he just made. It doesn't mention it here. Oh yeah, there. That's where I saw it. And the same guy who made Inscription, which is the game that's kind of like a card game, but then also kind of breaks the fourth wall. Before that, he had made a game called Pony Island that also breaks the fourth wall, and it's supposed to be kind of like a little arcade game that you can interact with, and you can mess with like the code, and like, you got to check it out. It's the way it breaks the fourth wall, and you kind of have to like mess with like the code and like actual game mechanics is like really interesting. And basically, yeah, they announced that he's making a follow-up called Pony Island 2 Panda Circus, which, like, all right, that's pretty interesting. Like, he's kind of returning to that original game that he made and making, like a continuation to it. And it's supposed to continue in 2020. It's supposed to release in 2025. So pretty interesting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then another one that I did not know this. Okay, I know there's a game called Tunic, right? The one that's supposed to be kind of like, Zelda 1, where it's like a little adventure game and you have to like look at the manual for it, right? You unlock parts of the manual, blah blah blah, right? I also knew there was a game called Night in the Woods, which is that little story game about like the cat that she returns to like her hometown and she meets up with her friends, and that there's like this whole conspiracy going on in the town, blah blah blah. Okay, I knew those two games existed. I did not know they were from the same studio, but I actually learned that because, as it says, here, I'm kind of just reading from the article. 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐿 is the next game from Finji, the studio behind Night in the Woods and Tunic. I did not know that. I did not know that they both made the same game. So that is really crazy because they're both very different games in style. One is like a whole action throwback to like, Zelda 1 with like some, I would say almost like Dark Souls sprinkled in. And the other one was just like narrative, like kind of like, like very much about choosing options, and I don't know, it's kind of like a little platformer sort of thing almost. So like, that's very different, and it was from the same studio. Very interesting.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting. I didn't know that either.
Yeah. That aside, though, yeah, 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐿. It says about this girl who's being followed by a mysterious ghost. It's going to launch in 2025, and knowing that it came from this studio that has made two very different but very interesting games, I'll have to keep an eye out for that. That sounds kind of cool. So yeah.
Nice.
Then after that, this game just really caught my attention because it says here it's called Harmonium the Musical. It says it's a musical adventure that is accessible to the deaf, not the deaf, God, the deaf, because it's a game that's going to be completely subtitled and where everyone's going to speak in sign language. And that seems really interesting. That's like a very unique concept.
Really is, yeah.
And yeah, it says apparently it's coming to Xbox Game Pass and Netflix games. And it looks like very like bright and colorful, like very music based, and like looks pretty unique, And the fact that they're making like a game that's like targeted towards like, being accessible to deaf people. All right. I definitely would at least want to keep an eye on this and see where this goes, see if, how well it does what it sets out to do, because very unique,
Mm-hmm.
After that, what was another one? God of War Ragnarok. It's getting DLC that comes out on December 12th.
Oh, that was cool.
Yeah, it's going to be called God of War Ragnarok Valhalla. And it's really interesting because it's probably going to be a roguelike mode. So roguelike means, like when you enter an area and then like you die, you start from the beginning. but usually along the way you gain like different stats or like different weapons you can take with you the next time. It's kind of like you're playing it over and over, like it's like a continuous loop, but basically you're a little stronger each time, right? And even though everything's like randomized, at least you're supposed to like be a little more prepared, right? Yeah, it says that basically it's gonna be a roguelike mode that takes place after the main story, and it has Kratos traveling to this like mysterious island full of monsters. And I don't know, it just sounds very interesting. It's really crazy that like they could have just given us like DLC that was just like it's continuing the game, but it could have been like the same gameplay, just like a new area. And the fact that no, it's gonna be like a whole roguelike mode, that's really interesting. That's a really unique direction to take it. So that's pretty cool, and it comes out really soon. So
Yeah, that's really cool.
Then this one was really crazy. From the same people who made Untitled Goose Game, they're making a new game that comes out in 2025 called Big Walk. That it's supposed to be a cooperative multiplayer adventure about teamwork and talking, where players will band together to solve puzzles and make new discoveries. And the little characters you play as, they're like these little, I don't even know how to describe these creatures, but they're like little, like made of 3 little orbs, and they have like little like
ducks.
They kind of look like ducks, but it's like if a duck was made of circles and had little like noodle arms and legs. It's very strange. But I mean, Untitled Goose Game was a really fun game, so this game looks really unique. I wouldn't mind checking it out when it comes out, because I'm pretty sure this studio, it seems like they have some creative ideas. So let's hope there's another banger. You know what I mean? Untitled Goose Game was really fun. So Big Walk, I will keep an eye out for it. You know what I mean?
Same. I'm definitely gonna get it when it comes out.
Yeah. Then after that, they showed a trailer, like I guess a new trailer for Hellblade 2: Senua's Saga, which is a follow-up to Ninja Theory's previous game. And unfortunately, they still didn't really say when it's going to have a release. They just said sometime in 2024. But it looks really hardcore. It looks like they're definitely going with a unique direction of like trauma and some sort of supernatural world. And I don't know, it definitely looks like they have an idea for this series, like after the first one. It definitely looks interesting, and we'll have to see what happens when this game comes out. We'll have to see if it lives up to the hype. But knowing how the first game was pretty interesting, pretty unique, this game looks like it could be a pretty good follow-up. So then there was a game that they announced called No Rest for the Wicked. I thought what made it really interesting is that it is this RPG that looks like really dark in tone, and it's a follow-up from the creators of the Ori franchise. So Ori and the Blind Forest, and then wasn't there a second one? What's the second one? It was Ori and the Blind Forest, and then what was the second one called? Do you remember?
No. The second one, no. I know the first one. Yeah, it's the Blind Forest.
It was Ori and the
Will of the Wisps.
And the Will of the Wisps. There we go. And you know how those games are like mostly kind of like lighthearted, very fantasy, very apparently they're making a follow-up that's an RPG that looks like really dark in tones. So that'll be really interesting, honestly, because like, that's a really unique direction for them to take. But it's kind of cool that they are making something new. You know what I mean? So we'll have to see how that goes. Then after that, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, which is apparently the next game in the Budokai Tenkaichi style of arena style fighting game. So pretty basic, just showed Goku, Vegeta, Frieza, a few different characters fighting. So for people who like this type of like an arena fighter, there you go. They're making another one. So I don't remember if they had a release date. I just know that they kind of announced it's coming for like, I just said, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PC, that sort of thing. But I feel like these games have a pretty quick turnaround. I could see it coming out next year. I don't think it's going to be like farther than next year. I don't think so anyway, but pretty cool. There you go. Then this one's a really weird one. For anyone who remembers, Dead by Daylight, that game's still going. They've still been adding characters to it. I know not too long ago they added Nicolas Cage as a survivor. After that, they added Chucky as like a killer, which is like really interesting. So from that same studio and set in that same universe, they're making a horror game that is, like single player driven, and it's called The Casting of Frank Stone. So that's pretty weird. They're making a single player experience, and it's going to release in 2024 for Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. And I don't know. It's just really interesting, but it's kind of cool that they're trying to expand to give us more of this weird universe. You know what I mean? So, all right. I guess we'll see how that goes. You know what I mean? So, kind of cool, I guess. Oh, this was a really big one. They didn't really show much, but it was still kind of exciting because it was something we had heard about a while ago. Kojima finally revealed, there had been like rumors, or I don't know if it was rumors or maybe it was like an interview he did once. He kind of teased at it. I don't remember. But the point is that for a while now, it was like, okay, there's supposed to be a collaboration with Xbox. Hideo Kojima's going to make a Xbox exclusive title, right? And basically, they finally showed like this little teaser trailer where it has all these people just like reciting these weird words, and their eyes, their pupils have like these weird like designs in them. And it shows that people kind of start freaking out, and it looks very like, the tone is really off. You can tell it's going to be like, okay, this is going to be a horror game, isn't it? Because it looks really like creepy, like, and unsettling. And yeah, it's basically revealed that it's going to be called OD. And apparently Jordan Peele is involved somehow. So that was really interesting. So I don't really know what to expect, but if he's trying to get into horror, which, that was the whole point of Kojima, wanting to make Silent Hills, and the whole PT, little playable teaser thing, it's kind of cool that, okay, he made Death Stranding, he's going back to horror, or at least I believe it's horror, and Jordan Peele's involved, which makes it sound very interesting, you know what I mean? So it's kind of cool. So we'll have to see what happens with that, though, because they didn't really reveal much information, but I'm going to keep an eye out for that. I'm excited for that. So, yeah.
I'm excited, man. Two legends working with each other.
Yeah, that's pretty cool because, he already worked with Del Toro to an extent. He didn't get to make, Silent Hills the way he wanted. And I'm sure Del Toro would have been more involved, but at least he got to work with him on Death Stranding and, that stuff. So, pretty cool. Then this one, I was really excited for this one. I really liked the trailer and I really liked the song. But basically, they showed more footage of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and there was a live performance of this song that's gonna be like the theme song, I guess, for the game. And they had it so like it showed Aerith was singing it, which I thought was really cool. And I really like what they showed. I thought that they showed a lot of really interesting stuff. Like they definitely showed a lot. They showed Vincent Valentine, they showed Sid, they showed more of Zack, more of that weird, I guess you can call it timeline, where Zack is kind of running around with a seemingly comatose Cloud. That's really weird. They showed more of, the party that we've already been traveling with. They showed a lot of footage that seems to be, at the Gold Saucer, which that was already like a really cool area in like the original game. Here, I'm sure it's going to be like, holy crap. It's probably going to be like incredible, especially from everything they've showed so far. I just don't know. They just showed so much. There was a tease of, I don't know. I just don't really know, man. It seems to be teasing and like trying to foreshadow a lot, I think. And I just don't know what to expect. I don't even know what to say, but I really liked it. I thought it looked really good. Honestly, it kind of made me a bit emotional because I think some of the stuff they show, especially, stuff involving Cloud with, Aerith on one side and some of the stuff with Tifa, I think it looks like, I don't know. I think we can expect a bit of I think we're probably going to expect some gut punches. I just don't know if it's going to be gut punches similar to the original, or I don't know if we're going to have totally new gut punches, but it definitely looked like, oof, I think it's going to like pull at the heartstrings with some of the stuff that seems like they're setting up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they teased us a lot because then like during that whole performance while showing the footage, they would cut off a lot of the stuff so they didn't fully reveal what the moments were. And so it's like they kind of were like telling us like, oh yeah, you better be on the lookout for this stuff, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It seems like they're teasing and foreshadowing. At least we think it's
Oh,
foreshadowing, right? A lot of stuff. And I'm just like, oh man, I don't know what direction it's going to take. I just don't know. It's just like, oof, you know what I mean?
yeah.
But everything they show looks really interesting. Um, yeah, I just don't know what to expect. But yeah, I just think that I think the first game did it. I know a lot of people are still kind of mixed because of the whole it was going to be a remake and ended up being like a stealth sequel, and there's like a whole different timeline, and they're kind of like redoing stuff. I know people, there's there's the Evangelion movies, and then like Scott Pilgrim takes off. People aren't too fond. Some people have like mixed reactions to the whole thing about you think it's a remake and then it ends up being like a sequel that goes in a different direction and changes things. I know people are a bit mixed about it, but I really like that approach, honestly. I really liked the first part
Hmm.
of this. And like I said, I think it did a really good job, like with humor, with hypeness, with comedy, with even emotional moments. I think it did a really good job. Like, if they give us more moments like the ones we got involving, Cloud and Tifa, I think we had like some really good moments between them. Like, I think that moment when he like talks to her in the garden outside Eric's house, I thought like that was a really good moment. And just like, I don't know, man. Those are like a few moments throughout the story right there. I just thought were really well done. Man, I think there's more stuff like that. And especially getting closer to, some of the stuff that happens like in the original. And like I said, wondering if we're still going to go in that direction or a totally new direction. I just think that, oof, I think this game's going to like be pretty hardcore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm excited. It looked good. It looked really hype. They showed some really cool stuff off. Like I said, I think Gold Saucer is going to be like a really big area. Probably one of those things that if they kind of like the original, make you choose who you interact with, there might be quite a bit of replayability there to like try some different things out. You know what I mean? Pretty cool. And didn't really talk much about the song, but I thought the theme song was pretty good too.
It was beautiful.
I thought it was really well done. So yeah, I don't know. I was really surprised. I was like, damn, they really give us a lot with just this one little, trailer and music performance. So yeah, really, really good. After that, oh, there was a game that I thought was kind of interesting. It's like a new game,
Hmm.
but I think it's kind of interesting because it's an EA original, which that's kind of where we first got like the Ori game, I think first, right? Because EA sometimes they do some games that are like they're not like the rest of their stuff that's all like microtransactions. Sometimes they actually have like some creative stuff under their belt.
Hmm.
And so there's a game called Tales of 𝐤𝐤𝐬𝐬, and it's this Metroidvania style platformer that's part of this, EA Originals, program thing. And I think it's really unique too. I think it's like a game for like something we don't really usually see covered. It says that it's supposed to follow 𝐤𝐤, a shaman who's trying to solve a mystery surrounding his father and involving the god of death. And I'm like, that seems really interesting. Like, when do we really see a game that covers like this, like a shaman and like the god of death? It seems like it has kind of like an African influence. You know what I mean? Like, that's not very
Hmm.
common. So I'm like, that's kind of cool. I kind of want to see what lore they bring to the table and what kind of gameplay and what perspective. Like, that sounds kind of interesting to me. So, and I love Metroidvanias, so I think that's really cool. You know what I mean? And this game's probably one of the ones that comes out the soonest out of stuff that's been announced. This comes out April 23rd. So that's actually relatively close compared to some of this other stuff that's like way into 2024 and beyond. And it's supposed to come out to Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, and PC. So it's kind of cool to see the Switch get something because I feel like most of these are just
The
Xbox
newer consoles.
and PS5. You know what I mean? So seeing a game come to Switch is kind of cool. So I'm gonna keep an eye out for this one. I hope it's good. I hope it gets some attention. So pretty cool. Then at some point they announced that there's gonna be a Blade video game. That was really crazy. So from the same studio that made Deathloop and the Dishonored franchise, it was a little brief teaser that, showed Blade, and there was like some noise happening, and I don't know, just the fact that we're getting more games that are like kind of based on Marvel properties, that's kind of cool, you know what I mean? Because Spider-Man's a big one. We're supposed to have a Wolverine game coming up at some point. I still have not played it. I still really want to play the Guardians of the Galaxy game. I heard that game was pretty good. Yeah, so another game from Marvel property, especially if it's supposed to be a game based on Blade, that could be really interesting. And kind of sucks that we just didn't get more information, but it sounds pretty cool. And no release date, so we'll just have to keep it out for that one. You know what I mean? We'll see how it goes.
I actually got really hyped with the Blade trailer. I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't expect that. That's pretty cool.
I didn't expect that, yeah.
Yeah. Then the guys who made No Man's Sky, Hello Games, they showed a teaser trailer for a game called Light No Fire that is supposed to be like this huge game that's similar to like, No Man's Sky, but that's like a huge game with like different planets and like a whole universe. This one is supposed to take place on one like planet, but it's supposed to have like a whole bunch of different like areas and, biomes and all sorts of stuff happening. It looks like it's supposed to be like really big. It's supposed to be like a big seamless world. So we'll have to see how that goes, because I know No Man's Sky had kind of a messy launch, but since then they've made all these updates and they've really turned it around. Maybe they've learned some things about how to make like a huge world. So we'll have to see when Light No Fire comes out, however long that takes. We'll have to see, how it does and what there is to do and stuff. But, good for them trying to make another game and something on this scale. Like that's definitely ambitious, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Then yeah, there's a game that I'm not seeing on here because we're almost to like the end. Where was that game? Well, I'm just trying to check through my list to accidentally skip it. There was a game I want to talk about because mostly the studio making it and one of the people that's behind it. Where was it? Hold on. Did I actually skip it? No, I didn't skip it. That's where that's on this list. Huh. Interesting. Let me just look for that real quick. I thought it would be on here. Basically what I'm trying to get at though is that you know what? I'll just mention like the last couple ones and we'll go back to it as I look for it. So one of the last things shown was Monster Hunter Worlds. No, sorry, Monster Hunter Wilds, which is supposed to be the next installment in, Monster Hunter franchise, which I've never played it, but I know a lot of people like them. I know they definitely have their following. I know they're supposed to be like some really big, action-y adventure games. And basically, this is the last thing that they really showed. And it looked pretty interesting, honestly. It just shows that you're in this area that kind of looks like a, best way to describe it is kind of like a savanna, right? It kind of reminded me of like, the African savanna kind of. It shows that there's this hunter and he's riding on this like giant bird creature. That's like his mount, right? And he's kind of like running away from like a stampede of these like monsters, these weird creatures. And then it shows that he's like, kind of standing on this cliff or whatever. And yeah, that's basically when they confirm that's Monster Hunter Wilds. And it's this game coming to, Xbox Series, PlayStation 5, and PC in 2025. So even though I'm not much of a Monster, Hunters fan or anything, I'm not really into that series. I haven't really played it. But I guess for people who do like that series, that's probably really exciting. And I can't deny that it is like a huge franchise, right? So I guess the fact that they're making more games, I don't know. It feels like Capcom has done a really good job lately of really, really killing it with their franchises. Like Street Fighter, really turned it around. They're doing really well. All of the Resident Evil games are doing really well, and we've had some pretty good entries. Monster Hunter's doing well, stuff like that. So good for them, I guess. Pretty cool.
Yeah, they just need to bring back Mega Man.
To be fair, Mega Man 11 wasn't that long ago.
That is true.
So it could be better, obviously. It could be better, but it could be worse too. It's not like it's been like 20 years since the last one. It's been like, okay, 11 came out and it seemed like it did all right, and you know what I mean. It could be worse, right?
Yeah.
I just remember another thing. I can't believe there's another announcement I forgot. It was one I was super hyped for. It was probably one of my favorite ones, and I can't believe I forgot it because it was not in this article either. So I might have to like link those separately. Yeah, I might have to link those separately because they were not announced. And it's like, dude, this is like another big one. I can't believe they didn't announce it. The other one that was really big that I thought it was like probably one of my favorite stories is that Sega is bringing back 5 of its big franchises that have been really dormant. And they said there's going to be more to come, which is really cool. So basically, cool. There was this trailer. It was kind of corny. Honestly, it was kind of silly. But at least what was announced was really cool. That apparently they're going to get entries in Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, and the Crazy Taxi franchises. And apparently the first one they're going to start with is supposed to be Jet Set Radio, which ties into that like leak from before, where they also kind of, had shown that we were going to get the Persona 3 remake. So it's kind of fun to see that also came true. But yes, apparently they're going to start with, Jet Set Radio. But yeah, we're going to get Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, and the Crazy Taxi franchises. And they said that this is just like the start, that after this, we might get more franchises coming back. So that was really exciting. That was really cool.
So, I was really excited about that.
I was going to say, what was your reaction during the
I did not expect that.
Yeah, weren't you like really excited? Did you say you kind of like also had like a whoa reaction on screen or whatever?
I did, because I was like okay, like Sega, because I heard like the Sega music, and I'm like, okay, I hear like the rings. I'm like, it's gonna be some other like Sonic thing or something, right? And then when like you see the arcade machine and it's Shinobi, I'm like, wait. And that's when it shows like all this stuff. Yeah, I'm like, what? Like, is this gonna be like some collection thing? And then when it finally shows the actual like, the fact that it's like high quality, it's like new completely. I was like, no, that's crazy. They're bringing back everything basically. I'm like, that's so cool.
Like, who would have guessed it, right? It's crazy. It's crazy.
And then like the way it finishes off with like the dude screaming like the Sega thing from like the 90s.
It was so cheesy. It was so cheesy.
I'm like, yeah, no, that's cool. I'm like, they're bringing back all of that's cool.
I know. It was kind of cheesy, but it was still fun. I still liked it. Actually, as I was looking for the one, if I found it, there was a couple other things that also I kind of wanted to discuss. They weren't part of like the main Game Awards show, but it was part of the pre-show, which I thought was really cool. Another one that I really liked is that we'll get to that in a moment. The one I want to talk about that was not shown in this article, so I'm gonna have to like list it separately, but I thought was really cool. If anyone remembers Ikumi Nakamura, which was the lady that went on stage during the E3 thing, the one who said it's spooky, and everyone was like memeing her and they were in love with her because she was like really, like she just was really cute on stage, right? That lady, she was part of that studio that made, Tokyo Ghostwire, and before that, she had worked to make some of these other, Bethesda things, right? Like I think she was a part of The Evil Within 1 and 2, I think, right? And she left. She said she was going to make her own studio. And the bad thing is she mentioned this, but it was like, okay, when is this new studio going to put something new out? And so I thought it was pretty cool that she finally returned. She's part of a new studio called Unseen. And the first game that they showed off, the first game for the studio is called KEMURI. And it's this like really colorful looking like action game that I'll just kind of, read the little description. It says, KEMURI summons you into a realm where the unpredictable meets the extraordinary in an urban jungle where mysterious creature, yokai, hide among the population. Become a yokai hunter and use your fox window to unravel the mysteries of the city and bring balance to the world. So yeah, it's like, it looks like you're like modern day ninjas and you're fighting all of these like yokai in the city. And it looks like really interesting and definitely has like a unique like aesthetic. And then it says, Kemuri's world is a blend of traditional Japanese folklore, modern culture, anime aesthetics, and international flair, where supernatural wonders exist just beyond the vision of ordinary people. This world challenges yokai hunters to confront existential themes and moral dilemmas as they track and fight their prey in fast-paced combat. Collect a wider range of yokai, some malevolent, some friendly, to transform your appearance and access their paranormal abilities. I thought it looked really interesting. Just from what we saw, it looked really unique. It looks for they're going for like a really interesting, aesthetic. And not only do I think the game overall looks like something interesting that I want to check out, but the fact that it's from, this lady who like had been kind of, out of the game for a while, and she's back with this new studio. I thought that was really cool. So I was like, oh man, I want to check this out when it comes out. So I was excited for that. I thought that was really cool. And like I said, I'm surprised it wasn't linked in the other article, because I thought this was like a pretty big story.
Thing.
Yeah, a pretty big announcement. You know what I mean? So that's why I just wanted to mention it, because I really want to see where this game goes. And I'm just happy to see her continue to make games, because she seems like she's really talented. You know what I mean? So pretty cool.
Her art's really nice.
Yeah, it really is. And she seems like she's so cool, like as a person and stuff. So it's nice to see her continue with these, creative endeavors and stuff,
Yeah.
And then finally, before we get into our own, thoughts, maybe, a little recap or whatever, another game that got shown, two games, because they kind of goes together, but this is the one that was an actual announcement. The other one was just more of like a new trailer. In the pregame show, before the actual Game Awards started, they were showing all sorts of other little announcements and trailers, right? One thing that I thought was really cool is that they showed another trailer for Persona 3 Reloaded, and I thought it looked really good. I continue to be really impressed with the updates. I continue to be really excited for when this comes out, and it comes out soon, right? Like in 2 months. What I thought was really cool is that, as they've shown or kind of hinted at before, Tartarus, which is like the big dungeon area where you do like the dungeon crawling and do like quests and like level up and grind. It definitely looks really interesting. It looks like they're definitely doing something very unique with it this time. It looks really like aesthetically interesting or whatever. They kind of showed that where you're fighting through Tartarus. So I thought that was really cool. And then I thought it was really cool that while all of the main characters have, voice acted lines, right? It's not usually like that for the side characters. For the characters that are like your social links, not all of them have lines. And if they do, it's just like here and there, right? It's not very common. But what something they showed off in this trailer that I hadn't like noticed in like some of the other ones, at least, maybe I'm wrong. It showed that all of the social links, it looks like every interaction is going to be voice acted, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
So that's going to be very interesting, because there's some characters that, maybe they had like a line here and there, you know what I mean? But it wasn't like a big deal. And, some of them, maybe there's voice acting for them, maybe like in some of the anime adaptations or like the anime movies or whatever, right? Yeah. But I thought it was really cool that here it looks like there's going to be voice acted lines for like every interaction and like every line, basically. And I think that's really cool, because it's going to be kind of interesting to see like, ooh, I wonder who they're going to get to voice this person or that person, or like we finally get to hear this person and what they sound like, that sort of thing. So I am like, ooh, that's another thing that at least I think is new. Like it's new to me. And I think that's going to be very cool. So, Persona 3 Reloaded continues to look impressive, continues to look really cool. And even though at the time of us recording this Game Awards podcast episode, even though me and Terrific are still playing through Persona 3 Portable and we're getting close to the end, but we're still working our way through it, I'm still excited for that remake. I'm definitely going to play it, even though it's supposed to still follow, I'm guessing, a lot of the same beats. Just the fact that it's updated, and I still want to play it. And I'm hoping that if people like our LP, I'm hoping they check out this whole remake thing for themselves,
I still need to beat the original.
I know, because you barely even like touched it. Alrighty, and then that aside, jumping over to, like I said, kind of how this connects to the one I want to talk about. They showed a new trailer for Metaphor ReFantazio, which is a very weird ass title. But this is
It
the
is.
game. Yeah, this is the game that's from the creators of Persona 3, 4, and 5. Like some of the people who worked on that, I guess this is like they kind of like a different team that, okay, we're gonna make like a different game, right? Like a new series, right? And they created this game called, as I said, Metaphor ReFantazio, that it definitely you can see the inspiration from Persona, and it just looks really cool. It looks really interesting. And I think it'll be cool to get another type of game because it's kind of a shame that the only games you really have that follow this Persona type aesthetic of dungeon crawling and social links and RPG goodness. The only ones I can really think of are Persona and Blue Reflection is a series that kind of does it too. So to just get something else that does something similar, I think is really cool. And so I'm looking forward to this. I think it looked really interesting. I wouldn't mind playing more games of this style with, RPG elements and social links and dialogue choices and stuff. I think that's going to be pretty cool. And yeah, basically they said that the game will come out sometime in fall 2024. So,
Mhm.
all right, we still got about a year, but I'm looking forward to this. I think it continues to look really interesting.
Looks
And
pretty
yeah,
cool.
I will try to check this out when it comes out, Pretty cool. Hopefully the game is good. So,
Oh,
nice.
mm-hmm. Same.
Yeah. Alrighty, now to kind of, just kind of start wrapping things up. That was all the announcements. That was all the big winners. Links will be in the description below so you guys can check all that stuff out. Plus, there will be a couple of links to some of those stories that, like I said, weren't in that big article, but I still thought were like pretty cool. With that being said, just to kind of wrap up, as I said, what were your overall thoughts on the Game Awards show? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? What was the thing you were the most excited for? That sort of thing, I guess.
Um, I enjoyed it. I felt like by the end, I'll admit it did get kind of feel like it was getting kind of boring near the end for me.
Yeah.
I'll admit that. The thing I was excited to see was, um, I was excited for every single game that was going to get nominated. I was pretty hyped of whether the games I wanted to get nominated were going to actually get nominated
Yeah, I got
or
you.
not. So I had my little reactions on camera where, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool that so and so game won. Or sometimes I would be actually kind of like, oh, great. Like, that's not the game I wanted to win.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I thought it was pretty cool because something that happened was Gonzo from Muppets was there for some reason.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. They always have some sort of Muppet, right? It's like I think
yeah,
𝐥𝐸𝐤𝐿 just has like I don't know, he has like a session with them. He just always wants them there in some shape or form.
yeah, yeah. So that was pretty cool. And I liked the little like the Final Fantasy VII thing. That was probably one of my favorite moments as well.
Yeah, I really like that
Uh,
one too. I was like really like, oh man, like the song was good. Like I said, the footage they showed looked really interesting. Just I don't know, man. I could like a lot of people like as you saw, I won the award for like most anticipated game for next year. And I
mhm.
agree, man. Like I really want to like get my hands on that game, man. I really like the
I
first
want to play
one.
it. I
Yeah.
want to play that one. And then yeah, Metaphor. When I saw it, I was actually pretty hyped seeing it too because, like, yeah, it's very familiar to me in the fact sense that it has the same gameplay as like Persona. It has like character designs that's again very similar to Persona, but then like the fact that it's very fantasy based and not like in a world like a modernized world in a sense, it
Yeah.
feels very like it's like Persona meets Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest. You know what I mean? Like it has like that fantasy setting, so that it's like I'm pretty hyped for it. You know what I mean? Um,
Hmm.
and then I don't know, man. I just thought that there was a lot of moments that were pretty cool, including like the Dragon Ball, the Budokai Tenkaichi, or Sparking Zero. I thought that was pretty cool. I did a little Kamehameha on camera.
Oh God.
Yeah, I actually did. Yeah.
Ah, jeez.
God of War DLC. I was definitely like happy when they announced that. I thought that was really cool.
I thought it looked pretty cool,
Um,
honestly. So
yeah, I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. Um, and yeah, I think that's just my overall opinion of it was that it was pretty cool, except that yeah, once it got kind of like to that end point, I got kind of tired and I was getting kind of bored, honestly, on that.
Yeah, I can see it because not every announcement's going to be for you, and sometimes
Yeah.
it feels like it goes a little long and that sort of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
I still thought it was overall enjoyable. It was
Mm-hmm.
fine. But that's going to be it, guys. That is our podcast for this week. As you can see, covered a bit of news stories really quickly, dove into the Game Awards show 2023. You guys can, as I said, look at the links in the description below to, kind of if there's something we missed that you want to look at, there you go. And yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool. Next week, we will try our hardest to be back here with another episode. We should be back to normal with the usual, our weeks and news stories and topic of the week, that sort of thing. So we should be back to more of a normal, format or whatever. Hopefully, we have some good stuff to talk about. Hopefully, some more interesting news stories developed by then. And yeah, basically it. Hopefully, you guys had a good time with this podcast episode. Hopefully, you had fun listening to it. And we will see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.